would it be feasible for somebody like myself to drive around the world? And the answer slowly became yes.
Say 100 people have contacted me with the dream of driving around the world. Of those 100 people, one has gotten to the start line.
People with disabilities can achieve great things.
Mike needs a vehicle like that because it's who he is. He needs power, he needs strength, he needs speed.
Yesterday was bar none the toughest driving I've ever done in my life.
He'd collapse almost. Like, you know, he'd be utterly exhausted.
I'm physically beat, I'm emotionally wiped out. Whoever said driving around the world was easy.
Being away from the West for more than 5 months, I was immediately struck by the sheer size and abundance of everything in the good old US of A. We can now drive on well-maintained roads, get roadside assistance, and immediate medical care. As we were cruising along, I received a cell phone call from one of my best friends and freestyle skiing brethren, John Eves, a Canadian World Cup teammate and one of the world's greatest all-time combined freestyle skiers in the 70s and the 80s. I could immediately sense this was not the usual John catching up. He went on to relay that he had performed a movie stunt that went wrong, and as a result had broken his neck at exactly the same level as me, cervical 4-5.
Unbelievable. And yet, I don't know if you know this, John, because I'm sure people told you, like those operations are tenuous, eh? Like people have actually gone into repair and come out as quads, you know that?
Fortunately, his injury was incomplete. He had broken his vertebrae, but did not damage the nerves running through his spinal cord. With enough rest, physiotherapy, and plenty of luck, in time, he could make a complete recovery. At 1:30 a.m., we reached Blythe, California, the fourth state we had crossed that day, and in the process, clocked the most mileage in one day, 1,110 kilometers in 17 hours. That evening, August 27th, Round the World Challenge was the beneficiary of a rock concert at Ottawa's Corel Centre, featuring Joe Cocker and the Guess Who.
We just stopped for a rest because we're all burned out. I'm really burned out. But what a cool looking cloud just over here.
Day 165 began with a drive into the heart of San Francisco to meet with Mayor Willie Brown at City Hall.
So we had a great Santa-fied Prime Minister convention in Canada, and we started.
During our meeting, Mayor Willie took a great deal of time with me and the team, displaying remarkable interest and support for the challenge. With a group of 25 supporters and media on hand, Mayor Willie presented me with a framed proclamation recognizing August 30th, 2001 as Mike Demonstrate Day in San Francisco. I was truly humbled by the honor. There wasn't much time to bask in the glory of the moment as we rushed off to the California Pacific Medical Center. Most enjoyable for me was always the Q&A session with some unique and intelligent questions being thrown my way. It was one of the most enjoyable presentations on the tour and left everyone on the team feeling positive.
Sure, why not?
Reeve, who was paralyzed in a fall from a horse, helped the Prime Minister inaugurate an expanded rehabilitation center. Yet he also came north to help this Canadian quadriplegic who took a back seat this day but will soon be in the driver's seat.
If I push back on the other side, that's the horn.
Mike Nemes-Very has a specially fitted truck.
So basically, so I pull back on my left wrist for acceleration, and I push forward for brake.
And he's getting ready to drive it around the world, a first for a quadriplegic.
Well, my guest for episode 50 in the United States of America is the just recently appointed president and chief executive officer for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, Margaret F. Goldberg. Maggie leads the only national paralysis focused organization centered around a dual mission: today's care, tomorrow's cure. Maggie has served with the foundation for more than 20 years. Maggie, great to see you again. Congratulations on your appointment as the new president and CEO. And most importantly, thank you for taking time out of your hectic schedule for this interview.
It's great to see you, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a long time, and I love, it's just wonderful to see you. Thank you.
First question, what are your recollections from our Round the World Challenge Gala launch and fundraiser with Christopher Reeve in Ottawa in year 2000?
Well, I remember it because it was one of the first trips that I took with Christopher. We knew it was going to be really cold, and I was wearing my wool suit. And one of the things, as you probably know all too well, is when you're spinal cord injured, you can't regulate your body temperature. That was one of the secondary complications and conditions that Christopher Reeve lived with. So he was very, very cold constantly. So when we had toured the hospital, we had all of these space heaters on him and blankets around him. And I was staying there in my wool suit. And I remember, I was perspiring because I'm still able to regulate my temperature. And I remember thinking, like, he's probably thinking I'm so nervous because I'm sitting here, dripping sweat, but it was 85 degrees in the room. He was, freezing. I'm sitting here in my wool suit sweating. I'm not nervous. It was just like a funny interaction. I always tell that story about the first time I really briefed him on my own, but it was really a wonderful event. I remember the support. I remember the dignitaries that we met. It was an incredible outpouring. It was memorable for me for so many reasons. Not only being the first trip that I staffed him by myself, my first time in Canada, but just the incredible outpouring of support that you received, and the recognition as well.
What do you remember about Chris's delivery at that event? Maybe just generally that was just one of his many gifts.
I think he was so gifted as an orator because he did not, he spoke off the cuff. He didn't have notes. He didn't, ask someone. He couldn't use his hands or his arms. So everything was in his brain. In addition, so every word that came out of his mouth was extremely important and poignant. But his delivery was so effective as well because he spoke, he used a ventilator to breathe. So he had to time the cadence of his delivery with each breath that he took. So, the timing and the breath and the delivery were just, it almost appeared to be labored. I think if one is not used to being in the presence of literally of Superman and someone who is so articulate and so moving, coupled with someone who's living with, quadriplegia and using a ventilator, it forces you to really, absorb it and take it all in. You literally could hear a pin drop anytime he spoke. He was that powerful.
100% agree. I concur with everything you said. Anybody and everybody who was there always remembers that night.
I've got to say, it's a real thrill to be here tonight. So for everybody who's still on their feet, think of yourself as temporarily able-bodied. Because in a moment, in a heartbeat, your life can change. And yet you find when it changes that there are reserves of strength that nobody exemplifies that better than Mike.
Christopher's 50th birthday party fundraiser was right in the center of Manhattan, New York City, year 2002. And it was such a milestone and another memorable event. What stood out for you?
Well, it was an incredible evening because it was, it aligned all the stars of the celebrities, and we were able to have a wonderful magical evening. It was actually called a magical evening. So we were able to take our signature gala, celebrate Christopher's birthday, turn it into this incredible fundraiser for the foundation. There was just published at the time the results of a study. He started moving his one finger again. There was a lot of hope. There was the promise of stem cell research at the time. So there was a lot of momentum in spinal cord injury repair. So I remember it not only being, the excitement around the birthday, but there were so many things going on in spinal cord injury research at the time as well. And things, we felt really good about the momentum and think where science was heading.
And just some of the people that came out to support him, correct me if I'm wrong, but Barbara Walters was there. Our Canadian, I guess, ambassador, Kim Cattrall, was there, right? Sex and the City. Michael Douglas, yeah. Robin Williams, who got everybody laughing. And I remember the amount, because Mitch Stoller was the CEO at the time. And I asked him, how much did they get made? He said, at least 5 million American net. They netted 5 million American in one night.
Pretty incredible. I think that's the most we've ever raised.
Well, I just have one final question for you. If you could send one message to the 1.3 billion people plus in the world with disabilities, what would that one message be?
There's so many different types of disabilities in the world, and it's hard to rally around one message. And we want to be one voice because this truly is a civil rights issue. We are out there fighting for civil rights. Just this morning, I was reading about the United States House of Representatives is looking at our budget process. And one of the things that they're looking at for the first time is coverage through, I believe, Medicare, Medicaid for home health aides. This is such an important issue for those living with disability because independent living is everything. And it could be important to those living with paralysis or so many other different disabilities. So I think my message would be advocacy is so important. We don't all have to have the same voice, but it's critical that we all speak up and that our voices are heard.
Wow, what a strong message to end on.
Well, it's great to see you. Thank you for your generosity and all your support this year, especially. And I'm thrilled to see you doing so well.
Thanks, Maggie. Take care.
Great to
Good
see
luck.
you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Clean everything up, move the bearings, take the bearings out, put a new bearings, new seals, replace that thread plug.
You fill it up and JB welded, you're not going too high to look. That's where it stops.
Well, let's try these two. At least it gets us on the road.
Well, I know that, but I mean, if you get somewhere where you got a day to relax and you can be without the car for a day and a half, and if you get into Vancouver, you're obviously going to hit snow.
Well, why would we replace the bearings again if we've got the replacement?
You're taking them out anyway.
So how much do you know this is going to cost?
If you don't need the spider gears, plan on spending about $400. Right about. If you do need the spider gears, plan on spending $8.
What's amazing, I always find one garage refutes another one's work, who refutes another one's work. It's endless with
After a required brake job on the Beast that took 2 days and 10 hours to complete, we finally headed out of San Francisco. We drove approximately 300 kilometers north before pulling in for the night at a roadside hotel in the small town of Williams, California. Heading out from Williams, the flatlands of Northern California slowly gave way to some very mountainous terrain. Suddenly the highway wound its way up through some steep grades and passes, some as high as 10,000 feet. On September 2nd, day 168, we met for lunch in the hotel restaurant with our new teammates, Dennis McTavish and Leonard Gibson.
How does it feel to be on board the Round the World Challenge, huh?
It's an honor to work with you, buddy.
What's that?
It's an honor to work with you, guys.
Yeah?
Dennis, who hailed from Ottawa, was a long-standing employee with one of our supporters, Minto Corporation. Roger Greenberg had asked Dennis to spend the next 2 months with us, providing logistical and moral support for the team as we made our way back through Canada. Christine stayed at the hotel to pack her belongings for her imminent flight back to Ottawa. We drove 150 kilometers north up the coast to Billingham, Washington, just south of the Canadian border.
Yeah, Sarah's actually the Vancouver Sun. She's writing a piece as we speak.
Hello.
We checked into the Comfort Inn, and later that evening, I met up with a young reporter, Sarah Galashan. She'd been sent down by the Vancouver Sun newspaper to do an exclusive interview on our return to Canada. That night I was riding a major high that we had come so far. But I was also a little bit stunned, as part of me couldn't really believe that we were on the verge of finally coming home.
So we're about to cross the Canadian-US border?
Well, if you've enjoyed the United States of America, you won't want to miss out on our triumphant return to Canada, Part 1.
Entering city of Surrey.
It's got the rugby.
Yeah, you've got the spikes on the wheel this time around. Huh?
Please remember that people with spinal cord injuries are suffering more than ever during this global pandemic. And this is the time that our 3 vital charities need your support. Please show you care and donate generously. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and see you further down the road as the challenge continues and our return to Canada, Part 1.